wonderful African-American pastors and theological leaders of the past century, in addition to the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., is one who was in many ways a spiritual mentor and predecessor for him, Dr. Howard Thurman. Howard Thurman is not nearly as well known as Martin Luther King, but his role in setting the stage and providing a sense of the faith foundation for the civil rights movement is profound. He was a pastor and a teacher. He became the pastor of the first ecumenical, interfaith, multicultural, multiracial church in this country in San Francisco. And then he accepted a call to the Boston University to serve on its theological faculty and to be the dean of the chapel at Boston University. It was at Boston University where he first met Martin Luther King Jr., who was a student there under his mentorship and who earned his doctorate at Boston University. But among the wonderful poetic pieces that have been written and published by Howard Thurman is a wonderful poem called The Work of Christmas that goes like this: when the song of the angels is stilled, when the star in the sky is gone, when the kings and princes are home, when the shepherds are back with their flock, the work of Christmas begins. To find the lost, to heal the broken, to feed the hungry, to release the prisoner, to rebuild the nations, to bring peace among brothers, to make music in the heart. This wonderful poem has been set to music a number of times. In one version by Jim Strathdy, a kind of contemporary piece with a real spirit called I Am the Light of the World. Jim Strathdy adds a chorus to Howard Thurman's words. I am the light of the world. You people come and follow me. If you follow and love, you'll learn the mystery of what you were meant to do and be. It's a wonderful message for the season of Epiphany, the season of revealing, when we think about what it means that Jesus came into this world to be a light to the nations, a light of healing and strength. And that Jesus' ministry, a ministry of healing and hope, opens our understanding of what it means to be church. And just as Andrew came to the invitation, come and see, when asked where Jesus was staying, and then invited his brother Peter to become one of Jesus' first followers, we are called to follow that light and to explore where the journey takes us. I've been thinking a lot these past few days about these texts and the kinds of invitations that have come in my life and the way in which the story of my life has unfolded in ways I could never have imagined, because I said yes and chose particular paths along the way that bring me here and have taken me to far distant places and opened my life to experiences and people I could never have imagined as a small child growing up in a little church in Maine. I think about that often because the church in which I grew up was so small. You might ask, how small was it? It was so small that for many years, when I was a child, it couldn't afford to pay an ordained minister to provide its ministry leadership, its pastoral leadership. And so it relied on students who might be studying theology at a local college or preparing for ministry at one of our United Church of Christ seminaries. And then occasionally some retired pastor who needed a little, perhaps, extra income and wanted to keep his hand in the game would serve the church for several years. I remember many who came and went, but those who stayed were the adult members of that congregation, who I remember so fondly as individuals who shared their faith with joy, who taught in the church school, who guided our youth program, who set an example of what even a tiny church that believed that God was at work in the world could do. So I've often thought, as I sit in my office in this multi-staffed, large church with so many people around me, how blessed we are. Doesn't mean we aren't without our challenges, but we are blessed. That church in which I grew up didn't set me initially on a journey to becoming a minister. That was very far from my original intent. I loved American history, and I started out to be a student of history and to prepare to teach. And so my journey through college and then on to graduate school took me to the University of Virginia, where I accepted their invitation to study there. I came away from the University of Virginia not only with a master's degree in history, but with a husband, young engineering student studying there. And our life together began at Charlottesville, Virginia, and our oldest son was born there. But I also came away from my years in Virginia with a broader understanding of the issues facing the world in which we were living, because Virginia was indeed a southern state, and only a few, maybe I would say a decade away from the effects of segregation, and those remnants of that period of time were still very real. From the moment I stepped off the Trailways bus, and there still were separate water fountains and the remnants of a time when inequalities were the order of the day. Somehow my life back here in Connecticut moved me away from history as the primary vocational choice to ministry, to work as a Christian educator at First Congregational Church in Meriden, and then to move on from there with a sense of call, a deep and abiding sense that God was at work in my life in new ways, to study at Yale Divinity School, and to move my path into caring for God's people and sharing God's word. That choice, that decision, has made incredible differences in my life. Along the way, each time I had a choice before me, whatever that choice may have been, the choice determined a path, led me in a direction, but also opened up to me tremendous possibilities for new opportunity